to you live from Revive, and with all due respect, here he is, the captain of the SS In Your Face, CJ Wadr!
Alright. Glad to be back. Welcome with all due respect, people on Periscope and those out there in the audience. Thanks for coming in and tuning in with us tonight. Shark, I seen a little bit of the episode last week on hashtag Periscope. Yeah, looks like you had a good time.
I had a blast. I'm all the people that were in this place, they were rocking it out last week. It was pretty awesome.
I heard you got a standing ovation.
I did.
That's awesome. Everybody knows my main man Shark and the wizard in the back, the guy turning the knobs and pushing buttons, doing what he does. With all due respect, I'm glad. I had a good time on vacation, but I'm glad to be back.
What was the best thing you had to eat?
Oh, without a doubt, was I went to this place called Fuddpuckers. Make sure I say that right. And I brought them the chicken nachos, and the thing they brought out was like this big. I mean, it was literally impossible to finish. Delicious.
It sounds pretty awesome.
That's what I'm talking about!
So, but it was just good to get to know the wife and kids again, you know, and all that. So, let's get into it. You know how we do here, with all due respect. Top 5.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 2.
Alright, top 5 headlines. First one, son gets $1,500 speeding ticket while driving his ailing dad to the hospital.
That's a hefty speeding ticket.
Very hefty. And his dad was like allegedly having a heart attack. So the guy's like trying to get his dad to the hospital. He gets pulled over, and his dad had a recent heart attack before.
Yeah.
So he gets pulled over. The officer comes up and is like, well, he doesn't look like he's having a heart attack.
I don't
look
know.
like he's having a heart attack. And 82 and a 55 is what he was doing.
82 and a 50.
So, I mean,
if I was driving anybody, let alone my own father, to the hospital thinking he was having a heart attack, why did the kid even pull over?
I don't know, that's what I was thinking.
I'd have kept right on trucking.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
You can get a ticket anyways.
You get a ticket at the hospital.
He's probably going to take you to jail.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even a kid, it was a 30-year-old dude.
Yeah.
I don't know. Moving on. Here, I like this one. Woman holds off intruder with a large sword and medieval combat skills.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's awesome. I think that what do they call that where they get out there in their costumes? LARPing, right? Is that right?
Yeah, some LARPing, some cosplay type stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it has to, I mean, she had to have had some practice with that.
Well, I watched the video, and it was awesome. First of all, she's a 43-year-old woman trained in medieval combat. So I don't even know what that means, but I'm thinking like catapults and...
Is there a college for that, or...?
I don't know.
But
she held the guy, who was higher than a kite, by the way. She holds him at bay with a big, like, ninja sword until the police come. She's like, if you move, I'm going to cut you. And she's like, in the video, she's like, I can cut like this, or I can stab like this. That dude broke into the wrong house.
No doubt. She just like rocking a sword, katana right behind the front door, you know, like,
do you get like a certificate when you pass medieval combat class? Or
I don't know.
A ribbon or what?
Like, you don't mess with, I can tell the lady was just...
coat of arms, some kind of something.
You don't mess with something like that. Not a chance. Alright. I like this one. This is kind of an eating segment here. Restaurant offers ownership for finishing off a 30-pound burrito and a margarita in 1 hour. Basically, if you can eat this 30-pound burrito and drink that margarita in 1 hour, they're going to give you 10% of their business. Like, you are now a partner.
I think it's a great thing. Is that even possible? A 30-pound burrito?
30 pounds is humongous, right? Just here's, and I thought the same thing. I'm thinking, how big is a 30-pound burrito? So I looked it up. The world record right now for eating timed eating is held by Joey Chestnut, which we know wins the hot dog contest or whatever. His biggest burrito he's ever eaten, timed, 14.5 pounds. So it's like not even half.
Not even half of what they're saying.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that dude can straight put it down.
if you fail, you gotta pay $150 it costs us $30 burrito.
$150 burrito.
I'm keeping that in my pocket because it ain't.
There's no way.
It might
that
not
you
be
can win.
a bad investment if you trained and thought you could do it.
Joey Chestnut couldn't do it. Moving on. University of Texas at Austin professor quits over the new concealed carry law. Basically, the school has decided that starting in August 2016, all licensed gun owners can conceal carry on campus. So this professor hears this and he's all like scared that a disgruntled student is going to come in and like shoot him. So he just quits.
I don't think that the people that you need to worry about are the people that are going to come in and go through all the training and the classes that have concealed carry license.
Well, I agree.
The people that you need to worry about are the people who are going to come in regardless.
To me, I'm like, whatever, dude. Go find somewhere else. What do you think about the law, though? The school?
I think it's a great idea.
Great idea. It's college. You got to be 21 anyway.
Right. They're gonna have the guys that are coming in they don't care. They don't have a license. They don't have whatever. So you might as well have somebody in the classroom or something that even if they can't actually protect them, there's at least a shot.
Right.
And there's no way, if you're somebody trying to go and shoot someplace up, you're not going to go into somewhere that you know people have guns that can shoot back.
Moving on, last one. This is my favorite of the night. Aunt sues nephew for $127,000. Says the nephew's exuberant greeting led to her fall. Now, Woods, I'm going to take just a little bit more than your minute here on this one because I have to absolutely read this story. So, here it goes. A New York woman insists she loves her young nephew dearly, but wants a jury to make him pay $127,000 for injuring her when he jumped into her arms at his birthday party 4 years ago. Right? And this is where I started laughing. Jennifer Connell, this is the lady's name, blames her nephew Sean, who is now 12, for causing her to fall and break her wrist. So, if you look...
So he was like 8 or 9 years old.
He was 8 years old. His birthday party 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He was 8 years old. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I thought this is an okay story. I'm thinking like a 30-year-old man jumping,
Yeah.
And then I get down like, what? Okay. She says, all of a sudden he was there in the air. I had to catch him, and we tumbled onto the ground. I remember him shouting, Auntie Jen, I love you, and there he was flying at me.
That means, wait a minute, how old is your daughter?
She's going to be turning 9 here in November.
Well, I'm going to sue her for something like that.
I meant to bring her with me, have her jump to you. Just like,
We just got a package in the mail for this lady. It's
It gets slow clap. Yes, slow clap.
Congratulations, you're a moron.
Exactly. She says. So I'm keep reading this because I have to. She's like, the injury has affected her so much because I live in Manhattan in a 3rd floor walk-up, so it has been very difficult. And I'm like, you don't walk with your wrists. You don't walk with your hands, lady.
What is she supposed
She's been walking with her hands this whole time.
What has she supposedly done?
She broke her wrist 4 years ago, and she wants $127,000 for it. And she's like, I was at a party the other night, and I couldn't even hold my hors d'oeuvre tray. And I'm like,
Who's seeing a 12-year-old kid?
Alright, I do have one. If you will pay attention to the screen. Hashtag Trump stamp.
oh, I love how Donald Trump makes every episode.
The Trump stamp.
He makes everything that much better.
That right there, that is awesome. That's trending on Twitter.
Yeah,
like, is
people
that
have been
real
taking
or
like pictures and putting them on the back of girls and photoshopping them on there. Trump stamp, like guys out there. But somebody did actually have a Trump stamp.
Wow.
A real one.
No way.
Yeah. No, I didn't bring that one, but this one was way more fun.
That is.
How would you explain that? Like, by the way, I have a Trump stamp.
Yeah.
Like, what? You have to show me. And
I
then
tell you,
it's
I tell you
over.
what you do is you end up, fighting captives with ninja swords is what you do when you get tattoos like
That's
that.
right. Ding, ding, ding. Alright, and last thing, you guys will appreciate this one. Hashtag dads with tattoos.
Yes. Enough said.
Enough said. Mic drop right there.
Walk off.
They, I mean, we got a whole lot, all three of us dads with tattoos. You know?
Guys with tattoos.
We don't care what our Earl says.
You ain't a dad unless you have a tattoo.
Yep.
I hear that.
No, that's probably not true. There's lots of good dads.
Got a word from our sponsors. Mountain Dew.
Oh.
Mountain Dew! Oh, beautiful Sal was a stone-hearted gal, refusing to feel or to chew. But Clem was right smart, he appealed to her heart with that gal getting good old Mountain Dew. Yahoo! Mountain Dew! Mountain Dew will tickle your innards, cause there's a bang in every bottle. At the county turkey shoot, cause Luke weren't worth a hoot. He was hopeless till he finally took the cue. Yahoo! Mountain Dew! Now he shoots off the cuff, gets more than enough after nipping at that good old Mountain Dew. Sure as shooting, there's a bang in every bottle of our delicious soft drink, Mountain Dew. It'll tickle your innards.
We appreciate that, Mountain Dew.
I appreciate
and all the
it.
money you did not give us.
I can drink to that.
Oh, beauty.
All I know is that if there was a one way for all three of us to shoot turkeys like that out of the sky,
Hey,
I'm signing up, Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew lets you shoot lots of turkeys and hot chicks.
And it tickles your innards.
Tickle me.
Love Mountain Dew.
You didn't know!
But I did.
We'll see. Alright, here we go. Number one. You spend about 7 years of your life in the bathroom.
No way.
Think about it.
How old? How old you gotta be?
Your life. It wasn't that specific.
7 years.
Think about it. More, you got showers all the time. Other things you do in there.
7 years?
7 years. You live for, you live for,
Yeah, but 7
Probably over
I can get
80
a lot
years or
done in
something.
7 years.
yeah. All that time you're wasting in the bathroom.
Maybe we should stop showering and bathing.
Maybe you should stop taking your phone in the bathroom with you.
There you go.
Why are you blaming me?
Alright.
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
The longest recorded flight of a chicken is 13 seconds.
13 seconds is it.
Yeah, but how many chickens do you see flying around?
I think that if that's the longest recorded one, I think that we could go out and find some chickens and try them.
You gotta think about how long even a second is, you know? And I was thinking about this earlier. Did they like throw him off a roof? And he was just kind of flying, floating down? You know, that's probably what
Does it have
happened.
to
So
live?
like, let's go get a chicken, go to the Empire State Building,
Does it have
and
to
break
live?
this thing.
We have to, call Guinness.
Right,
We need to figure out these rules. We're going to have to set up a field experiment.
I believe we could spend the rest of our lives trying to find that one magic chicken. We could train it.
Oh, if we stop using the bathroom, we'd have 7 years to do it.
Alright, now some of you might actually know this one, but it's worth mentioning. Most lipstick contains fish scales.
I didn't know that.
I
No?
didn't know that.
Gross.
That's disgusting.
I don't know, yes. Little hot dogs contain, It's irrelevant.
But hot dogs are so tasty.
Well, lipstick is good.
It's all those ladies, puckering up them lips, got them fish scales on them.
Good.
Alright, giraffes and rats can last longer without water than camels.
Rats?
Rats.
I didn't really think about rat.
Rats are disgusting.
Rats are disgusting.
Giraffes.
They can last longer without water than camels.
I wonder if you can hunt
Hunt what?
camels.
I don't think so.
I've seen people hunt giraffes.
Yeah, but I think
And over there, it's like a horse. Okay, you're not gonna go out and hunt your horse.
It's like to hunt a wild
Right, like some dude's riding his camel into town, and here it goes, boom!
It's like-
it drops over.
Look at that camel over there. That's a record book camel. It's got
Look at the
4
size of them
humps.
humps over there.
That's a 160-inch camel right
I
there.
don't know how I'm gonna get all 4 humps on my wall. So big.
Alright, and last but not least,
see that,
you guys will appreciate this one. It takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough leather for a year's supply of footballs.
Are those Tom Brady footballs? Or
Yeah,
does that take less
it
cows?
would take less cows.
No, they were inflated prior to,
I thought they were pigskin.
leather.
What happened to fire that pigskin, boy?
Wait a minute, my mind, you're telling me, I can't even wrap my mind around this. It's not pigskin.
I didn't know that, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's leather. It says on genuine leather.
Genuine.
It should say
Genuine pigskin. It does not say.
3,000 cows.
3,000. Now, the only thing I can imagine is that these were already slaughter cows.
Yeah, I mean, we're already eating them anyways.
Dude, I think the NFL should start their own ranch.
Dude, that's not a bad idea. Tom Brady Ranch.
Let's buy a ranch, and we'll raise flying chickens,
Yes.
magic chickens,
And 3,000
at least 3,000.
head a year.
It's good business, man. You eat the steaks,
Yeah.
sell the hides. I think they should make deer skin footballs. That
They
would
ain't gonna run out of those.
Buckskin.
Buckskin.
I like it. We didn't know a lot of that stuff.
No, I never do.
All right, Shark. When we get into the meat, I want to have you just grab that board over there.
All right.
Bring it up here so these people can see it. Up there on that ledge, Wadr Revive. And get this, I'm going to break down time tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So tonight we're talking about time, our most precious resource. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get, my toes are already hurting. Like, I was writing some of this stuff, and I'm like, why? Like, it's already hurting me to talk about it and own up to some of this stuff. So, should be a good conversation now. So, before we move on, let's grab that board. And on the board, which the main man Shark will show you, there are 24 squares. Now, they're not evenly because I'm not an artist, but you get the point. 24 squares for all 24 hours in a day. So what I was thinking, when I think of time, I want to think about how
We'll get this board here in a minute.
how does the average American spend their time during the day?
Right.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Right? So on that board, grab that marker.
Oh, I like
Your
this.
color
Yes.
tonight.
All right.
Stay inside the lines.
Stay inside the lines.
So I'm going to tell you like hours, and you color that many squares.
Okay.
Okay. So if you think about it, you know, what's the first thing you think if you have, say, okay, this person spends or on an average day, how many hours doing whatever? Okay. So what would you think about what do people do?
Work.
They work. So
Sleep.
Sleep accounts for, and this is the average. This is the average for an employed person, ages 25 to 54, with children. The reason I put that is because, one, people who have jobs are busier than most people who don't have jobs, right?
Right.
And people who don't have kids, sure as heck far busier than people with kids.
Right.
Okay? So, starting with sleep, the average person, which this I thought was a little high, 7.7 hours of sleep.
Whoa.
So,
I want their job.
just get fancy with your
Yeah.
7.7.
Yeah.
So, you want the color blend, do whatever it feels you should do. So, then you said work, right?
Yep.
Working, the average person, 8.7 hours. That's probably, that doesn't seem, I said the average person, but yeah.
8.7.
Not if you work for me, but if you have, yeah, I get it. I know what wisdom.
So you want me to do 8 more hours?
8.7, yeah.
8.7.
Yeah. We're just going to try to fill this square of a day in, see what we have. Now, moving on, what have we got? What's something else people spend their time on? TV and stuff. All right, this is considered leisure and sports. I don't know why. Leisure and sports, 2.6 hours. So people watch TV, do whatever, 2.6 hours.
2.6.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That would take up the other 2.7.
Oh yeah. You're like great at pulling in graphs and stuff.
I am. So that would cover in those 2 holes right there, right? Alright, I'm going to go this way. Just so I know it was covered with something else.
All right, eating and drinking, 1.1 hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's just eating and drinking. I guess your lunch break or whatever. And household activities, 1.1 hours. I don't even know what that means. I guess if that's household activities, that could be anything, I guess.
Cleaning, mowing, cooking,
Ooh, I hate mowing. I'm so glad winter's almost here.
bathing your children.
So that leaves us, it should leave us with like 2-point-something hours.
2.8.
Really?
Yes, sir.
2.8 hours. So
It's the bathroom.
that's the average day of a person. And it's just got like other or random stuff. So that's the average day of an American person, employed American person between the age of 25 and 54 that has children. You see anything wrong with that graph?
Do I see anything wrong with it?
Yeah, I mean,
I think it depends on what you do with your 2.8 hours.
yes, you're right. Wizard, you see anything wrong with this graph? It's not like the real answer. I'm just.
Yeah, I mean,
So you got basically after you've done all the stuff that you want to do, you got 2.8 hours.
well, there's an awful lot of hours taken up in this day right here that has nothing to do with God already.
Well, that's true, and that's what we're going to get into for one. But I'm not even thinking like, that's not even accounting for like commute time. What jumps off to me. So you got the guy that works 8.5 hours and lives in half hour, 45 minutes from work. I mean, there's 2 hours right there. So there's the average, just so we know when we get into time. So let's go ahead and get into it. Bring up our pastor for the night, Pastor Josh Cummins. Yeah, what's that really? What's this?
All I really gotta do is live and die, but I'm in a hurry and don't know why.
So, if you have, we was talking about the 3 P's, Pastor Josh: purpose, priority, and plan. Because I think we have to manage the time that God has given us. I think we have to. I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of go through days like, you know what I'm saying? Not with really any purpose, anything, just kind of, right?
Absolutely.
So the purpose part was brought about, knowing what our purpose is. And I think for Christians, our purpose, knowing what our purpose is the most important thing. The purpose of of what God has put us here for. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So, to know your purpose, what would you, if there's a Christian out there that's kind of like confused on what my purpose is, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say, just to get down like to the root of your purpose is to glorify God. Once you come to know Christ, it's to glorify God. Now that happens in various ways, but that's the root purpose of our lives. It's to give God glory.
So what about, I have a question, what about somebody that goes to work and they use that to glorify God rather than, like they're using the situation that they're in to glorify God rather than glorifying God in the first place? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, yeah, it's perfect.
Like, you know what I mean?
Like,
No?
what he's saying is that
see if CJ can explain.
what he's saying is that I think there's a big, people think that in order to really serve God, like you've got to be homeless, no job, no nothing else, and all you do is get up and serve God by going out and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What he's saying is that what about those people who, like us, who are average people?
No, I think those people are glorifying God in a way. Absolutely. Now they may be able to do a better job of it, but the Bible also says if you don't work, you don't eat.
Right.
Right? And whatever you do for the glory of God. So that could mean a lot of different things. But if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't work, you don't provide food for your family. You know what I mean? Now you could probably glorify God even better at your job than what you do already. But just the fact that you're working a job is partly glorifying God. Put it that way.
Well, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Because I think that on the flop side of it is that most people don't think like the way he just did, where it's kind of like, what, you almost feel guilty.
Yeah.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Where it's kind of like, well, like I'm a working dude, and I have to support my family. I have to put a roof over their head. I have, because we've already, if we'd have read the Bible and been following Christ, probably would have never done some of the things in life because that's why the Bible talks about not getting married, not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To really live that lifestyle and to serve. But when you find yourself in the midst of it, and so now you're, a 30-year-old man who has responsibilities at home with your wife and kids or whatever, you have to. I'm not saying that God doesn't call people to quit their jobs and go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. Absolutely not. I think it's awesome when people step out there and do that.
But that's their call.
But that's their call. That doesn't mean it's everyone's. But the purpose, I think, doesn't change for anybody. Right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Now, the way that we live our lives, your calling is different, but the purpose is the same for every person.
Yeah, the way you glorify God, the way that you glorify God is different than the way that God has called me to glorify Him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I believe God's called me into full-time ministry, right? And that's what He's called me to. If I run away from that, I'm not glorifying Him. That's my calling, right? That's where God's going to see the most glory in my life, is if I'm doing that, right? There's certain people who have that calling. There's certain people who have the calling to work a job and raise a family and maybe lead their coworkers to Christ, absolutely, but glorify God in whatever situation He's called you to. That's your purpose. And that's different for each and every one of us.
No, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I think that what our culture does is disagrees with this stuff. Disagrees with most Americans believe that their main purpose in life is to, is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I think so. That's what I was saying on the flop side of it is that is what makes it different.
Yeah.
Between what you said, and the guilt and all that, and what most Americans think.
Yeah.
Right? We think that, well, it's all about me. It's about the American dream. It's about, go, go, go.
Yeah.
Like the Alabama song. I'm in a hurry to get things done. Don't really have no clue.
Yeah, the end goal is different.
End goal is
the end goal is to be happy. Like life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right? That's the end goal. For us, that's not the end goal.
Absolutely.
For us, that's not the end goal. I agree with that totally.
But I don't know if it's possible to be happy in a worldly view and a godly one at the same time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think it would be hard to obtain both at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jesus says you can't serve two masters.
Is it more glorifying? So is it more glorifying to live that life of, okay, I'm going to live with the bare minimum, and I'm gonna do the full-time ministry, versus, okay, now I'm in this situation now, and I'm going to glorify God through it.
No, I don't think it's more glorifying at all. I think it's just my way of glorifying, or your way of glorifying. You know what I mean?
No,
there's no like. I don't think there's. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
But I think he's got onto something there, because how many people, in order to, here's the difference, is that you have someone who is not living to glorify God at all, and go to their house, right? And it's just a total different lifestyle. Most of the time. I'm not saying all the time. But if you think about the stereotypes, you think about any friends that we might have who are not living for Christ. They're the people that's got all this cool stuff, right? Because it's about, they're glorifying themselves, not anything else.
Absolutely.
So there is something to what he's saying. Is there a way that you can do both? I don't believe that there is, because there's always going to be.
You mean be happy and glorify God?
No. He said, be like, have some of that worldly, the pursuit of happiness,
I know.
and glorify God at the same time.
I get what you're saying.
Without being,
I think, like for instance, put it this way. Some people in the Bible are gifted with the gift of giving. Right? That's their gift. Their gift is giving. Monetarily, right? Money-wise, that's their gift. It's the gift. The only way you can give is if you have. Right? So that's their way to glorify God. They must work in order to have so that they can give.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of what you were getting at. Like, I work, I have a job, but I don't use what I work just to benefit myself. I use it to benefit other people. Is that what you were getting at?
Right.
To a degree? I think that's just as cool. I know.
Have a nice house, have a nice vehicle,
Yeah.
have a nice, you know what I'm saying? In a worldly view, from the outside looking in, you think, that guy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm born.
But you're also, not to put you on the spot, but you're also giving to the church, giving to God's kingdom. Not only time, like you're here right now without your kids, but monetarily. Right? So yeah, absolutely. That's glorifying God. And you didn't, I'm not trying to put you on the spot again here. You didn't go out and spend $300,000 on your house, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's very different. Very different.
I think it is hard for people, especially those trying to glorify God, to live in a world where it is full of this stuff. Because here's the deal: we as Americans, we like nice things. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just do. So it's hard to fight that sometimes and look and say,
and I think that is what you're getting at. Like, let's not work 8 hours a day to spend it all on ourselves.
Sure.
Let's work to provide for my family what they need, and then let's do with the rest what God wants us to do with it. Right? Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing. Living
time and money. Right? Yeah.
Right. Living within our means. That's probably a whole different.
That's a whole different topic. Yeah, whole different
right. So before we move on to the next P, I've got this the author of the prayer of I'll find his name. Bruce Wilkinson. He wrote a couple of books, Christian books. Secrets of the Vine was one. Prayer of Jabez was another. But he had a quote that I had found this week. I thought it was pretty cool. It says, God doesn't want you to do more for Him. He wants you to be more for Him. And I thought that was pretty pretty cool because, especially on the side of living and glorifying God and doing ministry, you can find yourself real quick, like just going and doing and doing and doing and doing. And
He's talking about quality, not quantity.
Quality, exactly. So
If we're going to do something, let's do it well.
right, do
Kind of that saying, don't put the cart before the horse, too. I think that if you are, wanting to be more for Him, I think that doing more for Him is going to come because of that.
Sure. So that's good
I
stuff,
like
guys.
that quote a lot.
Moving on, priority. And I think this is a great one for, because if you're talking about managing time, and we'll get back to that. We've got, purpose, priority, and plan. So once you find out what your purpose is in Christ, you know what your purpose is. The next thing you do is you have to prioritize based on that purpose in order to get the right result. And so it says priority just means knowing which things are more important and which are less. Once we know our priorities, or once we know our purpose, our priorities should emerge. I think that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, in this scripture, the first scripture of Matthew 6:33, and we've all heard it 150,000 times, when Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of God, right? And all His righteousness. And everything else we have added into it. And I think that how important is that to really think about? Is that once you have your sight set on what our purpose is, what we are here to do, and the priorities kind of work themselves out, right? It's just kind of like, think about when you became that new creation from God. People talk about when they get saved and all of a sudden you have to change. Kind of like that quote that you put on Twitter this week about how God doesn't change you, He makes you new. You're a new person.
Yeah.
Right? So once you're a new person, you think about the old person is gone and dead. And that's why a lot of people don't realize, like when I gave my life to Christ, before Christ was like, dropping all kinds of, I'll just use an example. My language was just unreal. And I mean, but once Christ came into my life, new creation, it was like a light switch. Now, I'm not saying that still to this day, I'm loud and obnoxious, say things that probably are out of place most of the time. And that's just me. But the point of this is that that's why people don't get it. When you think about the things in your life that change, like instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, some things were a battle that you have to fight. You're always fighting sin. But some things is just like, I just don't do those anymore because that is the old person.
Absolutely.
I think once we get our purpose, and then everything else just emerges, like he's talking about.
Well, when you become that new person, then the old priorities are going to die too.
Right. And that's that's exactly.
Absolutely.
They
The
should die.
priorities change. The priorities are new.
If you become the new creation that God, if it's real, if it really is that, that heart transplant that God has done, then yes, it's going to change. Your priorities, all your priorities are going to change. Because you come to the person, instead of living for self, you're now living for Him. And to live for Christ, you have to change everything that you do in your life.
Yeah, I love that quote though. God
Yeah.
doesn't change you, He makes you new.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, here's the recipe that they had. I'll get to that here in a minute. Let's go on to the setting priorities part. And because it talked about in the first line that I just read, is that knowing which things are important and which ones are less important. And so setting priorities is tough because sometimes we have to make hard choices, right? And the one thing I don't know why I've never thought about this, but sometimes we have to say no to good things.
Yep.
Like I don't know why that never. Because I guess I'm kind of.
Oh, I struggle with saying no to good things.
Yeah, I don't know. But oftentimes we got to say no to good things.
No.
And here's the quote that this guy had written down. It was awesome. Often we have to say no to good things so that we can say yes to the best things.
Yeah.
That is hallelujah. I mean, think about it.
So,
Sometimes good things, like, if you're doing ministry 3 or 4 days out of the week and someone asks you to come and fill in and doing this, that might be a good thing, but the answer really might be no, so that you could catch your kids' ball game.
You have to have a balance.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be balanced.
Absolutely.
I think,
Woo! Amen! And at the same time, you can't use the word, you got to have balance to justify how you spend your time.
oh, sure.
You know,
Because,
so,
first of all, you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, is it really the ministry that I'm doing too much of, or is it something else in my life that I could push out?
Yeah.
Is it the 2.6 hours of
Oh, yeah. See, we
binge
plan
watching
ahead.
Netflix or whatever it is that you do? And that's to each his own. But there's not enough time for all things. We know that, right? I mean, you just cannot do it all. Like tonight, after the service, I'm going to run some electric here at the church. Why? Because there ain't enough time.
right.
It's got to get done. But, I mean, I'm okay with that because of, the priorities are there. You still got to make priorities. There's just not a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And other times, it all works. But, think about, and here's the thing for the ministry, and we all know people, and I'm probably one of myself, is we all are spread too thinly because we hate to make those choices. Because we hate to say no to good things.
Yes.
Because we hate to say no to things that maybe it's not really our call. It's probably somebody else's call who's not doing what God has called them to do because they haven't found their purpose yet.
Yeah.
And so you look at it and you're saying, man, that is a good thing that needs to be done. And so we try to take it on, and we end up doing 150 things and doing them, halfway, because it's just impossible to do all things.
Oh, that happens way more than we know, especially in church.
Especially in church.
80% of the work done in church is done by 20% of the people.
Exactly. I'm glad you had that statistic, because that's what I was thinking.
That's ingrained up here.
It is true.
Yeah.
I don't care how big the church is. I don't care how small the church is. It's always the same.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Just 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. And those 20% of those people can spread themselves way too thin.
Right.
That's why I like the 3 Ps, because the first one was purpose.
Right.
And I think that's the one that you have to get first.
Right. It's an order.
And it's, it is an order, because, if they're not all lined up, then the rest of it doesn't flow, it doesn't fall into place.
Yeah.
Right. You can't skip purpose and go straight to priority because you got nothing to start with. Because, someone who's not reading the purpose of living in Christ, their priority list is completely,
Right.
it's not even close. Right?
Well, we could use Earl as an example of that. Like, Earl says his purpose is to preach, right? He can sing great. He can lead worship if he wanted to somewhere, but that's not his purpose, so his priorities have changed. You know what I mean? Like, all of us, the purpose has to be first, yeah.
No, I think, and that's a great thing about Revive was, when God called us all together, it really put that, you didn't have to do everything anymore.
Well, we still spread ourselves thin.
We still do that, but it's better than it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, because there's a lot of good people out there, and a lot of people that work really hard, and we appreciate every single one of them. So, but moving on, because this has been good stuff, but this is where it stuck me, and I read this like 5 times, and it hurt every time, and I even wrote the toe crusher, right? Stepping on, I don't even know why that exists, that saying, stepping on your toes, but you get what I'm saying. So I read this quote from a pastor. He said, I know several young fathers in our congregation who love golf. Now, with golf in this, you can put whatever it is, right? It doesn't have to be golf, but to get the point. But they have put their clubs away for a few years. One of them said to me, when my child gets old enough to play golf with me, I will start again. But right now, I can't see spending most of my Saturdays away from the family. And he says, and the pastor says, now that's a statement about priorities. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because it just hit me hard. This year's not been that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you know, years past, I like to play softball, I like to do golf, I like to play those things. I mean, I'm a human being, I love competition. So that really hit me, like, wow.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about time.
Yeah.
Thinking about, I mean, we traveled around last year. Think about the Saturdays that we weren't.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be softball or golf, you can do whatever it is that you do.
Oh, that's a decision you have to come in my life whenever I have children.
Right.
That exact scenario.
So I'm reading this, and I'm going, for me, as a father of 3, that life is gone. Has to be. You know what I'm saying? I know what I mean, you still can't go have some fun,
Right.
doing, you know, every once in a while doing this, that, and that, whatever, but that life, it doesn't exist anymore. And the fact that I did that for an entire year cringes. It hurts me. Why? Because the time that we're missing with our children, the time that we're missing in the ministry is time that we will never get back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why it doesn't, because self comes in, right? Self comes in, you don't think about it. But just like that statement, it was so simple. I mean, the guy's talking about playing golf, right? Talking about, well, I can't imagine spending all that time away from the family.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I mean, it is priorities. That's what it is. And,
Very good.
you know, there's a time, you know, when the kids get older and they're doing their thing, then you go back to doing whatever, you know, you can go out and do things like that again. But
I think it can be a lot of different things. I mean, I think it can be, you know, I think it can be an activity. I think it can be work. It can be, you know, wanting to go to the racetrack. It can be wanting to go to you know, a certain restaurant. It can be, you know, it can be anything.
right.
It can be, you know, wanting to go to the casino. It can be anything that just takes you away from your priorities.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But I read that, I'm like, I don't even want to read this. I don't even know why we're even going to talk about this. Because it's going to hurt. And because it's truth. I mean, you think about it, it's truth.
Yeah, I mean, both of those things hurt. Like, for instance, spreading ourselves too thin, that's stepping on our own toes, because a lot of times, I don't know, but I can't answer for you guys, but I feel like I spread myself too thin doing things I shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? So that hurts me, because I need to say no to stuff and start raising up leaders to do that.
Right.
Right? That's the job that we should be doing. And then, I mean, yeah, the other one, it's should step on all of our toes.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you don't have children yet, but you still have a wife. You still have, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And that is to come. So
Yeah,
it's very important to understand. And you're in a good place, though, because you get your priorities and stuff in line and know what you're getting into before you have children.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying, you know, having children, it's great. I wouldn't change my life for anything. I'm just saying there's so much that I wish I knew.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just makes it much easier. But, so moving on to the plan. Last one. So we had purpose, priorities. Got to set priorities. And this was Ephesians 5. If you want to,
I love these verses.
I think, you know, to preface it that, it's basically Ephesians 5 to me is he who fails to plan, plans to fail.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You want
Yeah, I can read it.
to read that scripture? That'd be good.
Ephesians, what is it, 5, 15 and 16?
Yeah, Ephesians 5, 15 and 16.
Yeah, it says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. And I love that verse. Number one, it's talking about reaching people for Christ, right? Using the time that you have to do the purpose, like we were talking earlier. Using the time that you have to do the purpose. But before you can ever do that, you got to put in the time before that too. And I kind of, I don't know if I talked about that, but when it says because the days are evil, it's talking about the world is evil, so you have got to put in the time. Like this verse is talking about reading our word and getting in this. Because then later on it says, verse 17, therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. And in that verse, he's not talking about some will that you find out from God. He's talking about the will. Like, read your word, then you'll know the will of God, and then you can use your days wisely.
Put some of these frames
pretty
back
cool
and
stuff.
Just shoot them all.
Well, yeah, because it makes, think about it.
I think that's better.
If
than
you,
over.
if you're the person that, it don't matter if you're at home and not out playing golf or doing whatever, if you're just sitting there not doing anything to glorify God, or not doing anything to help your children come closer to God, or, your time, you're just wasting.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you spend 2.5 hours watching TV, if you don't use that to get in your word,
Right.
or you don't use that time that you're not doing that to get in prayer, if you're just, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think
that's what
important.
Paul's getting at.
I think it's important because people are like, yeah, man, I shut down TV in my house. We just don't do that. Cool.
Awesome.
But are you replacing that
With something beneficial.
with something beneficial, with getting into your word and getting in your prayer life? Or has it helped you? You just kind of look at you like,
Yeah.
I just said I'd cut my TV. I know, but you're just going to replace it with something else that is just a filler. It's not what you're.
Right. Your actions, whatever you do, whatever decision that you make, it has to be intentional. Intentional toward, okay, if you give something up, okay, that's intentional toward drawing closer to God.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not just willy-nilly.
Yeah. And that's what Paul's getting. When he's talking about knowing the will of God, like, you have to know the will of God, and what he's meaning is read your word. You have to know the will, you have to know the word, be in this, in order to use your days wisely in reaching people for Christ, or to glorifying God. You got to know the will of God. You got to know this, so that you can actually do that. So it's putting in the time even before. And I may have mentioned this in my sermon Sunday, I forget, but you got to put in the time even before you get to the battle, or even before you get to reaching people for Christ. There's time invested before. And that's what Paul's getting at in that verse. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's preparation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's the only thing, ministry, getting people to Christ is the only thing in life that you will see people thinking they don't have to prepare for, and get out there in the midst of it and go.
Yeah.
What?
Absolutely.
And I think it goes back to what I was trying to say at the very, very beginning, and I didn't do a really good job of saying it, but it goes back to that, and I think I have a better way of saying it now. Well, I thought I did, and then I lost it. No, I'm just kidding. But are you trying to plug God in to your life and plug His purpose and His priorities and His plan into what you're doing, or is God building your priorities, your plan, and your purpose? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like that board.
I think that's the question.
Like that board.
Did God build that? Did God, all those things that are shaded in, did God build that and put that in place, or are you doing that? And now you're trying to put God in those boxes somewhere.
It's great stuff, Sean.
Yeah, I like it.
Because think about it. Are we? And I think that's what the priorities, right? Priorities. Number one, got to be God. Priority number one. Yeah. I seen a quote someone had put on social media this week. It said, "For a husband to love his wife, he must first love God." And I know that's off topic, but it brought to my mind, think about, he's got to be one. He's got to be number one. God, the relationship with Christ has to be first. He should be the grid, right? He should be all the squares. And he's what starts. And then we put everything else around the purpose and the plan that God has put in front of us. Not like you said. What we do is we say, well, here's our life. Here's our messy day. What can I take away from here and put some God in? I'll squeeze some God in here.
Yeah.
Now glorify God in this place. Now glorify God in that place.
It's just like the order, for instance, you said, what do you think about when we think about what people spend time on, right? The first thing you said was work, right? We started with work and we wrote it in. First thing we said started with how much time do they spend with God, right? That should have been the first thing And then we went on to whatever work God has called you to do, right? And then we should have went with sleep.
So
That's what you're saying.
let me get back to the question I asked you before. Is, you know, we take all this stuff, right? And I'm going to say that the majority of the people, their calendar looks really close to that. That's what it looks like. Is that glorifying to God? Can you glorify God through that? I think that you can plug it in there, but in the grand scheme of things, is it truly glorifying to God?
I got you. I mean,
It's a great question.
Because if not, then what are we doing?
I think that's for each person to. I don't think that I can make that answer for any person. You know what I mean?
I know.
But I do
That's
think
a great question.
absolutely,
People are sitting on
everybody should ask
Periscope and
that.
everywhere else thinking exactly what you just said. Is that if you cannot glorify God with that day,
Yeah,
then what are we doing?
yeah, I agree.
Because that's most of us. That's
Yeah.
most people.
Yeah,
Okay, we sleep 5 to 6 hours a night. We have an 8-hour job. We have to drive to and from our jobs. You know what I mean? We have kids. Our kids are in stuff. We got to eat at some point in time. We have to use the bathroom at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most of us are involved in some type of, church event or helping out with church. Is that really, truly glorifying to God?
Yeah. But I will say, let me say one more thing before you. In order to reach people for Christ, right, which is part of glorifying God, is reaching people for Christ. Most people work a job, right? Most people are out working 8 hours a day somewhere. Most people only come to know Christ through a friend at work or a family, you know what I mean? Like, through those connections is the only way they come to know Christ, right? So I'm not saying don't work, you're not saying don't work an 8-hour job, I'm not saying that, you're saying that.
Yeah.
That's where my thought goes, though. Like, we have to be in the world, but we do it differently, entirely differently. For instance, people where you work at the middle school, they may never come to know Christ unless you work there, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's got to be the foundation of what you do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not trying to contradict what you're saying.
No, I know, and
I'm trying to
I'm
put it
playing
into
devil's
perspective.
advocate a little bit, but these are the things that really seriously go through my mind. But do I think that those people could get brought to Christ if more people's lives would be less like that? Yeah, absolutely, I think that it could still happen, even if I didn't work in that building. So that's where I go to. I mean, because I know from a worldly standpoint, you look at that and you say, well, I mean, if you're glorifying God, if you go to church and you pray with your kids and God is number one in your life, hooray. Yeah, that's, in a worldly standpoint, that's a pretty godly lifestyle. But from a biblical standpoint, is it? I know we don't have the answer to that right now. This has been a long, we've talked about a lot of stuff tonight.
Well, I'm thinking, and like you said, we don't have the answer. I think, like Pastor Josh said, is that answer can't be answered by anybody but yourself.
Yeah.
And what you have going on.
Absolutely.
So, if you know that you have kids, there's mouths to feed, there's bills to pay, which that could start an entire.
We could lower our bills that we got to pay.
Right.
No doubt about that.
Yes. Yeah. That could start an entire.
We could feed our kids a little less.
We could. We could spoil them.
No doubt about that.
But knowing what your plate looks like, without God calling you to something totally, and He might. You might get up tomorrow and God says, okay, Sharp.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Leave all that stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, so you look at it and say, unless God changes things, tomorrow we're going to go to work.
Yeah.
So we know we're going to be there from this time to this time. So we know that this time is what we're going to do. So it's what we do while we're there. I think we have to get out of bed in the morning looking at a different way of life. Getting out of bed in the morning saying, God, use me today. You've put me in this place. You've given me this job. Show me what you want me to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to serve you. I want to glorify you. I just need a little help here.
Yeah.
Put the people in my path, whatever it is. Show me.
And then you got to prepare yourself too. But
right, to prepare is you being in the prayer and being in the Word, so that God, you can hear God when He calls you. One, and two, you can have ready what that person needs to hear when they need to hear it.
Because there's no doubt that you're a teacher. Put that out there for people who don't know.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt in my mind.
Educator,
yeah.
Thanks.
There's no doubt in my mind that my wife was called to be a teacher, right? That is what she is. That's what she knows God wants her to do, and that's where she finds. That's where she glorifies God in the way that she does that, right? So there's nothing wrong with her teaching. It's the way that she does it that glorifies God, and it's that purpose. It's that finding it out. That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
Yeah, because here's the deal: is that there's to be people listening right now that are going to work every day, doing what they think is right. They could be going to the wrong work. They could be going to the wrong job.
Yeah, possible. I'm not. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not what God has called them to, because God needs them here.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that.
No.
Wherever you work, do it for the glory of God.
Yeah.
And reach people around you who are there. Like, there are people around us in our jobs, in people's jobs, wherever they go, that need to know Christ, and the way that you work, the way that you glorify God in that job, could lead them to Christ. Now, you're going to have to talk to them about Christ at some point, but, man, that's where you reach people a lot of times. It's hard to...
Pastor Josh, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming up here. Thanks for fixing that microphone, dude. That's Pastor Josh, everybody.
Rushing to last no fun. All I really gotta do is live and die, but I'm in a hurry and don't know why.
All right, we're wrapping things up here tonight. I know it's been a little bit long, but man, that was some good stuff. It's really good stuff. I hope you guys are.
Thanks, Pastor Josh.
When
we start talking up here, we're like looking at Pastor Josh like,
You're up, man.
Like what?
So next week, I'm going to throw Wizard a wrench. He doesn't know what I'm fixing to say, but we're going to change the plan. We're going to talk next week about guns. Gun control, guns in the schools, all those things that people are talking about right now. Give you our opinions, our takes, and what's going on. I'm excited about it.
I'm pumped. I like it.
We'll see what happens. We also, 2 weeks from now, we got the Halloween theme, WADR. That'll be fun. Costumes have to be done.
I got an idea too.
It'll be good. So, appreciate you guys following us on Periscope. Appreciate you guys coming out here tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you see you back here, same time, same place, next week.